Coalition MPs have publicly traded blows over whether the taxpayer should fund new coal-fired power plants. Let's go live to political reporter Trudy McIntosh here in Canberra. Trudy, the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has weighed in. I don't think too many people will be surprised by his contribution.
No, Malcolm Turnbull here today for the Indonesian President's speech to Parliament, but he has weighed in spectacularly to this debate over whether there should be taxpayer funds going to new coal-fired power plants. It's a debate we know on both sides of the coalition. There's very strong views on this, but Malcolm Turnbull has made it very clear he believes that it's nuts for anyone to be advocating for the taxpayer to be on the hook for new coal-fired power.
It's been a fault line in the coalition for a very long time, but the fundamental economic reality is this, that coal, there is no economic basis on which to build a coal-fired power station in Australia any longer. The cheapest form of new generation is a combination of renewables plus storage, and there is literally, that is no longer a remotely contentious proposition. So those people who are advocating that the government should fund coal-fired power are basically making a case for higher emissions and higher energy prices, and that is nuts.
And it appears that Mr Turnbull has the support of the moderate colleagues within the current Liberal Party, people like Dave Sharma, also Trent Zimmerman speaking out this morning arguing against the need for funding for coal.
From my perspective, it's not the business of the Commonwealth Government to be building or funding coal-fired power stations.
So that's your red line. Any sort of subsidy for this would be a red line for you?
I don't think we should be funding coal-fired power stations. It's not the job of the Commonwealth Government. It's up to the private sector, it's up to the Queensland Government, who has responsibility for doing the type of planning that we expect across the grid.
And within just minutes of that contribution from Trent Zimmerman, we saw a statement from Nationals MP George Christensen, very firm in his position when it comes to coal. He says, quote, "Despite claims by one inner-city Liberal MP on Sky News this morning, the Morrison Liberal National Government is providing funding to coal-fired power projects, principally because they provide stable and reliable baseload supply." So, Tom, certainly pretty deep divisions within the party when it comes to coal. A very difficult balance for the Prime Minister here, managing both wings of the party.
There'll be an upset group no matter what it seems, depending upon what that feasibility study finds out. Trudy, meanwhile, there are some colleagues of Lou O'Brien trying to talk him out of his decision to, well, leave the Nationals Party room, even though he's staying within the government broadly. Yeah,
Lou O'Brien wouldn't be a household name to many, but today making it very clear that he no longer wants to sit in the National Party. It's something he called the Prime Minister late last night to inform him of. He has said, though, that he will be sitting within the Liberal National Party. It's something that his colleagues are now trying to talk him out of. We heard from Barnaby Joyce and Matt Canavan today. It's in the wake of the messy leadership spill that we saw last week. There's the ongoing tensions in the wake of that. There's certainly not dying down. Lou O'Brien has made his position clear, but Matt Canavan, for once, said he'd like to see him back in the Nationals.
All I'm focused on now is trying to keep Lou part of the team in the tent. I've had some discussions with Lou. Obviously, Lou's not completely happy. I just want to try and keep him part of our great team. He's been a great member of the team. He's contributed a lot, and hopefully he'll stick with us.
Is this a warning to Michael McCormack that his leadership is still under threat?
Look, I don't think it's at all to do with those things. Although, you know, I hope Michael, along with everyone in the Nationals team, is trying their best to keep Lou part of us. Obviously, there's been a level of frustration and disagreement in the Nationals Party, but we can agree to disagree and get on with the job of helping people in rural and country areas.
Tom, the Prime Minister, in the wake of that leadership spill last week, said he wanted to draw a line under it, that they needed to move on. Other colleagues are also urging our MPs to do the same, but it looks like for another week the Nationals are going to really dominate things here in Canberra.
Trudy McIntosh, thank you. Meanwhile, independent MP Zali Steggall will put forward a climate action bill aimed at driving down Australia's emissions. Crossbench MPs have come out in support of the bill, which will be introduced as a private member's bill. Among the measures proposed is an independent climate change commission to advise the government on a path to emissions reduction. Ms Steggall, who won the seat of Warringah from Tony Abbott at the last election, says her focus is on bipartisan, long-term policy certainty.
This government is signed on to the Paris Agreement, so we need to lock into legislation our long-term goal, and that is net zero by 2050. That is what's implied in our Paris Agreement. It's what our states have signed up to. So I think it's an insurance policy for the Australian people from maybe the vagaries of this place and political instability, that we actually lock that into legislation to ensure we have certainty and long-term direction of travel.
It comes as some within the Liberal Party have seized on reports of a new government emissions strategy for 2050. The Prime Minister has previously said he would consider a net carbon zero emissions by 2050, so that specific target. A review into that target is set to be finalised later this year. Liberal MP Trent Zimmerman has told Sky News it should be taken seriously.
We have our targets in place for 2030 and the world will be coming together at the end of the year for the next COP meeting in Glasgow, and I think that is an opportunity for us to outline our strategies and our targets beyond 2030. So,
is net zero the way to go?
I think it's something that we need to seriously consider.